Hey, you guys, we're back again. Yep, this is Indie Reads Aloud. I am Diana Catherine Penn, your wacky host. And today on the program, we have Samantha Bryant coming back again just because I have so much fun when she's on the program. And she keeps writing books, which means she keeps coming back because that's what I do here. I let everybody who writes books read them. So if you've written a book, check out the show notes and come send in an application so that I can get you on the program. Samantha, welcome back.
Well, I'm glad to be back. How are you?
I'm having a great day.
Oh, good.
It's sunshiny, it's happy. Yeah, having a good day.
Excellent.
So this book is The Goodwill Tour, a menopausal superhero novella. This is the final book in the superhero series that we're going to be reading from. And I'm really excited because I read the first part of the synopsis in the back cover and I just love it because it's so relatable. Hero life is not all fistfights and mad scientists. Even superheroes need good press, especially when the world hasn't decided whether superpowers are a blessing or something else. And I can so relate to this because as authors, as you well know, marketing is the hardest thing we do.
Hmm.
Writing the book is super easy. It comes naturally to us. We have all these story ideas and character people running in and out of our heads, leaving little footprints all over our brain all the time. And the marketing is so challenging. So when for instance, Superman, like nobody trusted him when they first figured out he could do what he could do, and he had to get a PR
Pretty
guy to,
scary. Yeah.
yeah. So I can only imagine the challenge set before a PR person who had to let the people of Springfield know that a flying woman and a lizard woman and a woman who could wield fire could be good for the environment, right? These are solid neighborhood citizens. I can see how that could be a challenge.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So, what was the? I don't want you to give anything away if I'm crossing a boundary, but what was the trick that their PR person finally came upon? Like, what was the? Okay, now we need to twist it this way.
Mm. So of our heroes kind of accidentally became public, right? That just eventually they saved people in too public a setting, and it wasn't possible to deny
Yeah,
that
well,
they,
when you're flying around the downtown city park, it can be a
yeah,
thing,
if you're
right?
seen by too many people, we can't convince you that just that one person was drunk.
Yeah,
We
right.
right.
It
Yeah.
was not mass drunkenness. Yeah.
Right. So the department that they've started working for, my superheroes, is kind of forced into going public because it's just becoming impossible to hide. And so they come up with because public reaction is both like, wow, we have a flying superhero, and oh my gosh, that's terrifying. So that
Right.
so they decide that what they need to do is just work on that public image to have, a public face. And so they pick their two um, easiest to sell, their most palatable heroes, which is Flygirl, Jessica Rourke, who's a woman in her 30s, a one-time gymnast who can now fly. And she actually has a lot of experience as PR because before any of this happened to her, she was married to a corporate bigwig and did charity balls and all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
She's got
Okay.
skills, right?
Right.
And then they pair her with Leonel Fuerte Alvarez, who's now a very handsome Hispanic man, very super strong, and just has this affable, likable demeanor. People tend to like Fuerte. And so they send the two of them out on a goodwill tour, um, where they're making visits to hospitals and fire stations and Boy Scout troops and
I
anything
just
like that.
I find that as a storytelling vehicle really hysterical because in my head I'm trying to go, okay, what would it be like to send um Thor and Iron Man and what would it be like to send them out like on a press tour, like on a press junket, like they do to the actual actors do to promote the movie? Like
Right.
what would really be like if they stayed in character and did a press junket? I think that would be really funny.
Oh, it would be, yeah.
So I love the idea of this book, and I love that this is a novella so that you kind of get a distance POV.
Mhm.
So you're not immersed in what's going on with the rest of the stories and the interactions of the characters. This is kind of almost fly on the wall kind of a thing.
Right. And of all of them, this is the one that stands alone the best. One
Okay.
reason I wrote this one is for people who were interested in my series but didn't want to commit to a series, right? And so this was like, well, this story works all by itself, right? You don't have to read any of the rest of the menopausal superheroes to enjoy this story. And then, I'm hoping that you'll enjoy it so much that it makes you want to go read the rest of them.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what I find interesting is that this book is doing for your characters what the book is also doing for you,
That's the
right?
hope.
It's
Yes.
it's like it's this wonderful cross-marketing extravaganza that we're exploring here with this, and I just think it's a brilliant idea. I just
Well,
love
thank
it.
you.
I just love it. Super fun. And of course, as an author, my wheels are turning. Okay, how can I make this trick work for me?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because
The one of
really,
yours.
I think we need to turn this idea of going on a press junket. I think we need to make that a new trope, just so that authors have the latitude to use it.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Let's do it.
I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. All right. So today you are going to read The Goodwill Tour, a menopausal superhero novella. And this one, I got to read this first sentence because it's so much fun. Hero life is not all fistfights and mad scientists. Even superheroes need good press, especially when the world hasn't decided whether superpower powers are a blessing or something else. I think this is so cool. This really does look like it could be a TED Talk, right?
Right.
Here's the TED Talk for everybody who has superpowers and doesn't know how to manage them, right?
Right.
All right. So when you are ready, please, Samantha, take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay, so this is the Goodwill Tour, and I'm going to be reading to you from the third chapter, which is called Jessica and Lionel, What Makes a Mother. And I don't think you need a lot of context. Just know that they're visiting a hospital for this one, and they've already done the go talk to the big wigs and everything, and now they're going around and doing room by room visits to some of the patients. Okay. The next part of the tour was harder, individual visits to the patients, the ones staying in the hospital, short or long term. Jessica remembered the random visitors from her own time as a patient with a mixture of gratitude and irritation. She'd been touched to know that people cared, and sometimes the distraction had brought her back from despair. But it was also difficult to find the energy to be kind and gracious, especially if the day had already been hard. What any one person in treatment needed and wanted at any given time was so individual, and Jessica felt pushy in her garish blue and white tights. Luckily, Lionel was with her. Before they entered the first room, he knocked softly on the door frame and leaned his head in. You up for some visitors? The woman in the bed raised an arm and waved them in. Despite his bright red shirt and sunshine yellow mask, Lionel managed to seem small and quiet as he tiptoed into the room. He sat primly in the chair beside the bed, his hands folded in his lap, and smiled. I'm Fuerte, and this is Flygirl. I know. They told us you'd be coming. I'm Ginny. The woman sounded tired, but interested. Leonel stood and padded quietly to the foot of the bed and the bulletin board with pictures and cards clipped to it. May I? The woman nodded, and Leonel unclipped a photograph of a woman sitting under a beach umbrella surrounded by a group of girls. He handed the photograph to the woman, and her fingers brushed it gently. Are these your girls? I have 3 daughters myself. He reached for his wallet and then let his hand drop. Showing people pictures of his family probably wasn't wise, even if there had been a back pocket in his uniform, let alone a wallet inside it. The woman ignored him and turned to Jessica. Do you have children? I do, 2 boys. At their mention, Frankie and Max's faces sprang to mind. A wave of grief smacked her down with the weight of how it might have turned out if she had not won her fight against cancer and her boys had grown up without her, as she feared. They made this easier and harder. She gestured at the hospital walls. You're a survivor. The woman's gaze sharpened, and she pulled herself up to something nearer a sitting position. I am. Ovarian cancer. I'm 2.5 years out. That piece of her history leaped out of her mouth before she could think about it. Seeing the hope that flashed in the woman's eyes, she couldn't regret saying it. How old are your boys? The woman asked. They spent the next few minutes talking about children, childbirth, and to a lesser extent Leonel's grandchildren. Jenny's daughters, they learned, all attended college, a senior, a junior, and a freshman. Luckily, the tuition payments had already been made before their mother's diagnosis. Jenny was determined they would all graduate, no matter what happens to me. Between rooms, Leonel leaned against the wall. Jessica patted his arm. It's hard, isn't it, watching all these women in pain, fighting so hard? It makes me miss being a woman. Jessica leaned back to look into her friend's face and saw he was serious. Confused, she blurted, What difference does that make? I'm a toucher. I want to hug these women, take their hands, squeeze their shoulders. But it's so different now that I'm like this. He spread out his arms, and Jessica noted the breadth of his biceps and the wide expanse of his chest, not without admiration. I don't know how to offer comfort as a man, he said. But you are a comfort. When I need to talk, there's no one I would rather talk to. You listen like no one else. David doesn't think so. He says it's different now, though he still loves me. I feel like I haven't changed. Under my skin, I'm the same person he married, but it makes a difference in how he sees me, how he talks to me, and what he thinks when I react. It's a very different matter now when I cry. He lowered his voice. I think it's different for these women, too. They're on guard with me in a way that they aren't with you. He pointed at the room they had just left. When we talked about our children, you were able to talk to her as a mother. I'm a mother too, but my experience is not counted the same because I wear a man's face. She wouldn't believe I had ever been somebody's mother, that I know what it is to carry a child within my body and nurse her. His sadness touched Jessica. It made her stop and consider things she might have said or done, hurting him unintentionally. I didn't know you when you were a woman, Lionel. In fact, it was strange to consider that this tall, handsome man had ever been anything else, that inside he still thought of himself as a woman. He had told her that sometimes looking in the mirror was so startling that he jumped at the sight of his own face, even with 3 years to adjust to the transformation. Jessica's own changes had been quite an adjustment, especially before she found the emeralds that helped her control her flight, but she never felt like she wasn't herself. In fact, sometimes she felt like she hadn't really been herself before, that her powers allowed a truer self to shine through. Leonel ran a hand over his hair, then automatically smoothed it into place. There are things I like about being a man. Things like my new voice, and the ease of finding clothes, and how cheap my haircuts are. The words were light, but the tone serious. Also, knowing my opinion will be listened to in a meeting, and feeling safe walking alone at night. But there are times when I feel like it's in my way, places I can't go anymore, or if I do, it won't be the same. Jessica thought back to the time that she and Leonel had gone to one of his favorite peluquerias to get him a haircut, when his woman's haircut sat oddly against the new planes of his face. She remembered it as a great day, a fun time with her gay boyfriend. But now that she knew Leonel better, she understood that he'd been performing for her, the manicurist and the hairstylist, flirting to get past the awkwardness of being there and suddenly the center of attention in a woman's space. Do you wish you could go back to the way you were before? Not really. Leonel seemed to mean it despite the wistfulness in his tone. My life is exciting, purposeful. I can make a difference in a larger way. I can literally save lives. This hero stuff, it's different than anything I knew as a woman, and part of me loves it. It would be hard to go back to my old life even if I could. Maybe, though, if I were able to keep the strength. But your Walter seems to think the two are intertwined. Jessica floated off the floor to rest her arm across Leonel's shoulders. Just keep being you, Leonel, whoever that is today. And that's where I'll stop.
And I would write, it's the perfect TED Talk.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely fantastic. In the green room a few shows ago, a while back, you and I were talking that you've also contributed to some anthologies. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Sure. I when I get frustrated with my novels, I tend to t take a little break, but still want to create.
Mm-hmm.
And so I end up writing short stories. And I think because when I start sit down to write short stories, I'm usually frustrated with my novel. My short
Right.
my short stories tend to come out a little dark. Yeah, the
Okay.
proposal superheroes has a very light and optimistic tone overall. It's
Right.
about how we could really save the world if only we would work together, right?
Sure. Sure.
But my short stories run darker. And so a few years ago, I started submitting them around to anthologies, just looking for open calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm addicted.
Are they all in the same genre or are they in different
No, they're
genres?
all over the place. And that's part of what I enjoy about it is I can try on a new genre or a new theme or a new style of storytelling, very short commitment. Rather than spending a year writing a novel in it, I
Right.
can spend a week writing a story in it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always told people that my goal is to write one book in each of the 35 major genres because, like ice cream, how do you know which one's your favorite until you try them all?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
I
so I've
think,
got superhero, horror, science fiction,
yeah, yeah. And I,
paranormal.
I
Yeah.
think short stories give us the opportunity to taste.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's really super fun. So at some point, I would love to have you come back and read from one or two of those anthologies. Just share
That would be
those
fun.
short
Yeah.
stories with us. I love short stories because they're little snippets that we can enjoy and then move on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah. And anthologies as a reader, I love anthologies because you get this collection of stories that are all connected in some way. There's usually a theme.
Sure.
Um, but you get to try on 13, 30, depending on how big the book is, different
Right.
authors, right? And then if you
Exactly.
love a short story, you're like, oh, that story by Diana Catherine Penn was wonderful. I'm going to go look her up and see what else she wrote.
Yep. Yep.
And I've found some of like I found Tanana Reeve Dew, who's one of my favorite horror writers to read now, because I read a short story by her in an anthology.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I can remember doing that in high school, discovering a short story collection in a library and then going out and looking for larger works by those same authors
Right.
because
If
you
the
get
short
you get
story got
hooked.
you, then you're
Yeah,
like, oh, I need more by this person.
exactly. Yeah, I spent a whole summer. I did that with poetry. I spent a whole summer and got completely addicted on Octavio Paz of all people.
Ah,
And so, you get these little snippets of opportunity to discover new writing. And I guess that's part of what I'm doing with this program as well, is giving people an opportunity to find little pieces that they enjoy and then maybe going and searching out the rest to
great.
enjoy even more. Thank you so much for coming on the program and putting up with me through all these episodes. And before we go, I want you to tell everybody one more time about the omnibus edition that you have.
Thank you. So yeah, this is the Goodwill Tour. It's a novella that stands by itself, and you can buy a copy, the cute little paperback that
Yeah,
looks like
yeah,
Or if you want all of the short work from the Menopausal Superhero series, I have this collection, Agents of Change. So it includes this anthology, this novella, and this novella, Friend or Foe, and all of the short stories that were in the collection through thick and thin. So they're just all
perfect.
together in one volume.
And again, it's space saving for those of us who have limited shelf space.
Right.
or as I like to say, limited square footage in the house. But
Yes, but
yeah,
it's also hard because all of the covers are good and it's like
I know. I was going to ask you. So before we go, tell me about your cover designer because I think they're
oh,
amazing.
all of the Menopausal Superhero series is published by a Charlotte publisher called Falstaff Books, and there's a woman named Melissa MacArthur who did the covers for all of these. And I really love how she made use. All of them feature these silhouette kind of characters,
Yes, yes.
and the novels tend to have like cityscape behind them, where
Mhm.
the novellas have the
The
stripe.
starburst. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
No, I
she's just
love it.
really good at choosing the right colors to contrast, like the yellow and orange and the green and toxic yellow and the blue and pink,
Yep.
They're just
No,
lovely.
yeah, I just think they're fabulous. And I love that they all have that comic book feel to them. So it
Mhm.
really does make you want to get your head into superheroes and evil villains. And I mean, it just grabs you in that fun comic book space.
I'll
So
make sure I'll tell Melissa that you love them.
yeah, hands down. I mean, seriously, she's an amazing artist, and I hope that you get to continue to work with her moving forward.
Yep, she's doing a cover for an upcoming short story collection I've got. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
We like to keep artists in work because the last thing we want is computers taking over everything. What fun would be? It wouldn't
Man.
be. So no, I like real people.
Yeah, me too.
Real people are better. Thanks again for coming on the program. And next time, maybe you'll come back and read from the anthologies.
Yeah, maybe so.
Thank you so much. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
you too.